It's time to sing a lullaby, a pine bough swaying lullaby, a lady's slipper lullaby, a lullaby for you. Baby loon nestles in as Papa floats along. Swimming near, Mama calls a soft hoo-hooing song.
Thanks for listening to Read Minnesota Books. I'm your host, Deborah Copperrood. Mary Casanova is an award-winning author of 40 books for children, teens, and adults. She wrote the Dog Watch series, a lot of picture books, including Northwoods Lullaby, published this spring by University of Minnesota Press. She's written middle grade novels, many American Girl novels, and a few young adult crossover novels. She's also a storyteller and writing mentor. Research for her books has taken her to France, Norway, and Belize. Casanova also shares her love of writing and reading with children and adults at schools and conferences. Mary, welcome to Read Minnesota Books.
Thank you, Deborah. I love your program.
Thank you. What is your connection to Minnesota?
Oh, my connection runs really deep. Born in Minnesota, and I grew up in the Twin Cities area. And I was a kid, I would go north to cabins. Each set of grandparents had a cabin. And I would just love climbing into a station wagon with my nine other siblings and the family dog. Head up north, and I would just be just enchanted by the sound of loons and the spice scented air of pine trees. And I think, and that is exactly why I live up north now. So my husband and I shared the dream of being up north someday, and so we chose to live our Minnesota life up on the Canadian border right after college, and that is roughly 40 years ago. But I have really sunk my roots in pretty deeply to the natural history and the history of this area.
That's beautiful. So you way up there if you're by Canada.
Yeah, right by International Falls and the Canadian border.
Tell me about Northwoods Lullaby.
Well, I wasn't planning to write a lullaby or a lullaby as a picture book. This came very organically. We had a 3.5 years ago had a grandson born to us in Denver, and my husband and I went out to help rocking that baby and holding that baby a lot. And as everybody knows, you hum, you rock. And I was humming familiar lullabies, but then I started to have a tune in my head. And so I was humming this song with a few words, which is kind of like, forgive my voice, but it's time to sing a lullaby, a lullaby, a lullaby. It's time to sing a lullaby for you. So I'm singing this and I'm loving being a grandma. And eventually, as time went on, I took the music to the piano and started to add more words to it and started to think of it as, oh, this is all about new life and springtime. And it started to take the shape and evolve into either a longer lullaby or a picture book or both, as it turns out. So I sent the text to my editor and said, "What do you think?" And he fell in love with it. So we moved ahead towards making it a picture book. Then our son-in-law, yes, my husband and I have a son-in-law, the father of this grandchild, and he is a musician. Listeners in Minnesota will probably know his name, Chris Koza. He's a fantastic composer. He's a great dad as well to his son. And he said, "Well, I could do some music with this." And so he just was willing to perform it and arrange what I had come up with as a melody and arrange it and make it available through this book. So it's truly a collaboration.
That's great. So yeah, there's a QR code on the back page
Right.
that takes you to the recording. I didn't either I missed or it doesn't say that you are related to the composer.
No,
So
it's very subtle as you kind of have to look for it. But yes, it's so that's what's so sweet is that he's composing this and it all stems from a love from both of us of his son and my grandson.
oh, I love it. So personally, I love children's books that rhyme. Does it help you to have that structure of verse when you're working, or does it ever feel constraining?
I think it's both. I let the story lead me to whatever kind of rhythm it wants to be told in. So some of my books have, like One Dog Canoe that readers will know, is very much rhyming. And that's just the way the story came to me. So I respect the origins of a story. But I have other stories that are rhythmic, Wake Up Island, Hush Hush Forest picture books, where there is a lot of rhyming, but it breaks the rhythm at times as well as it seems to just fit the story. So I think rhyming that feels like it gets in the way of the story can be irritating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, how does it best serve the story? So that's my long answer to that question.
That's good. So every single word in a picture book matters. I'm not sure that the average person realizes how difficult it is to write a good picture book. How many drafts does it take you to get to that final version?
I don't count all the times I do drafts. If I did, I would realize how much I do not get paid much per hour, so I never
Yeah.
count how many drafts. But I did count the drafts when I did One Dog Canoe. And that one is 32 drafts. And I'd like to share that when I'm talking to kids or aspiring writers. Even a story with that's that small and concise, is very few words, it every word does matter. For instance, in that one, it was about being able to set boundaries, and a little girl who, when all these animals want to come in the canoe, she never really says no. She says maybe next time, and ends up with a disaster on her hands. Well, when I did a first draft of it, it was all about saying no. She was like, no, no way can you come in the canoe. And then I think it was an editor who said in the face of just say no, which was kind of a campaign at the time for kids. And so, and towards drugs. So I had to rethink it completely, even though it's subtle, but it's a very important part of what the story is about. So yeah, every word is hard earned in a picture book. If they were easy, I would write one a day. But I've been at this for 30 some years, and this will be I think it's my 11th picture book. So they're a bit of magic, and when they show up and work, I'm delighted.
I just talked to Jordan Sundberg about the beautiful illustrations of Northwoods Lullaby. As the book's author, how does it feel to see that artwork come together?
I always go into a picture book process knowing it's collaborative, since I'm not an artist. And I also I'm not somebody who can visualize things really well in terms of like, how is this going to look? I know when I'm writing it, is it illustratable? Does this form a scene that I could see on a page? That I can get that much in my head, but I really leave the artistry to the artist. Having been at it for a little while, I was able to at least see some of Jordan's work in progress, knowing it was her first attempt at a picture book, and they're more complex than we often think from the outside. I was able to respond to some of the images and how they might make me feel or not feel, and that's the kind of feedback I could give to her, and then let her respond to that and make any changes accordingly as she came up with solutions. But it's really fun to do it together. And now when we get to go out and do some events together, it is like sharing a baby. I mean, it's pretty special.
There are lots of adorable animals in this book. You've written about animals before in your other picture books. Are there any animals that are like deal breakers for you? Are there any animals you wouldn't include because they're just like too ugly, too mean?
Oh, I had a story that I thought was delightful about a rat that wanted to join a rodeo. It didn't matter how many times I revised it, no matter what I did with it. The response from my New York editors was, "Oh, there's no way we could. I can't do a story with a rat." And so that I realized was kind of off limits. I could change it. I could found another animal to work with, a cat or something, but the story was really about a lowly rat. So I'll just let that go. There's a lot of stories that will never see the light of day, and for one reason or another.
Rats. Yeah, I suppose if you're a New York editor, you have like a real bias against
I
rats.
get it. Yes, exactly.
More than we do, probably. What is your favorite part of the writing process? Do you like to get those ideas? Do you like to be revising?
Boy, I think I really love the process. I love getting the spark of energy with a new idea, because you don't have anything if you don't have a good idea. And
Hmm.
as a writer, and you're a writer, you can revise and revise, and you can really transform your writing if you revise enough to make it solid and strong. But uh, if the original idea doesn't have some sparkle to it, or some deep intrigue or interest, or something about it that matters, it doesn't matter how much you revise that idea, it's just never going to really have life. And to say to people who are really trying to get published is it's not finding its home. Send it out, get tons of rejections. But at some point, it might be that was sort of it was an effort and you did your best. And now you need to wait, you need to find the next idea that might be a better idea and a more publishable idea. So, huge believer in revising, but at some point, you can't just revise a bad idea.
That's great advice. Is there a number that you have in mind?
How many rejections?
Uh-huh.
Well, before was published, I accumulated over 200 rejections of various sorts. And so I made my expectation, I set my expectations really low that I would be sending things out into the great sea of hope. And as long as I kept on putting things out there, and if everything didn't come back all at once, I could still do it. If it all came back and I had nothing out there, then I would be just so discouraged. So keep a lot of things circulating. Just throw them out there like crazy, I say, because you never know when something's going to land. But because of the discouraging nature also of publishing, and rejection is more common than not, have a writers group, even if it's one other writer who's writing that you meet with regularly for support. I've been with a group of writers for 30 years, and actually just went to a funeral yesterday of Marcia Chall, our beloved Minnesota picture book author who wrote Up North at the Cabin. And she's been part of a writers group I've been in on an island up north for that 30 years. And boy, you get close. You're sharing your vulnerabilities, you're sharing raw work, you're sharing work that makes you insecure and you don't know if it's any good. And those relationships are invaluable. So find at least one other person or a group to network with and support each other.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It is a big loss. It's like losing a family member. That's how
Yeah.
strongly I feel about the writers groups. During COVID, when my travel life and speaking life as an author, I thought, well, what do I want to do as I'm getting older? And I thought, I really want to do more mentoring. This writing group that I've been part of has been so invaluable. And I thought, how could I do something like that with teenage girls? But I didn't know how to launch it. I'm not in the school system. And lo and behold, met an English teacher from Ely, Minnesota, Heather. We happened to meet up for coffee, and within 10 minutes, we were planning a writing camp for teenage girls. And that camp will be going on its seventh year this summer, which I can barely believe. But it is all about getting girls who want to write together and learning how to support each other. And everyone is for everyone. So if you have any listeners who between 8th and 12th grade who are very interested in writing, send them to writingcamp.org or to my website, and they can look at applying, which is usually in January for the June camp. This year is filled, so it would have to be for the following year.
Okay, so mark your calendars, listeners, if you have somebody in that age group who wants to be a writer. That sounds really cool. Who is your favorite Minnesota writer?
Oh, I think I'm gonna vote for my very good buddy, Margie Preuss. And Margie came onto the scene a little bit later. She says that she came to one of my library presentations with one of her boys when they were young. And so this is probably 20 years ago. And she had was doing playwriting and theater work. And then she said, maybe I'll try my hand at some kids' books. Well, she's won a Newbery Honor Award, and we both do picture books. We both do historical fiction and novels and things in between. And we also have two dogs that happen to be sisters. So we're
Oh,
pretty close. And she's also part of this wonderful writing group that I was talking about. But I love her work. I think it's really high quality work, whatever she writes. And if she has a new book coming out called The Shrew Detective, and it'll be a series with a couple of books coming in. I think that's in May.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I do not know her work, so that is a good recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
I have kind of a silly question for you, and I asked Jordan the same thing. How do you feel about Wanda Gagg's Millions of Cats? Cute or creepy?
I think it's kind of creepy. that that cats have to decide between themselves who is the prettiest, and they end up kind of knocking each other off. The whole premise, I don't think you could possibly sell that book today, but it came out in what, 1928 or something, a long time ago. Uh,
Hmm.
it's zany, the idea of millions of cats. I love zany, and I love that idea, but it's questionable to me. I take issue with a lot of a lot of things in that book, but then there's a lot of books that I grew up with too. I think of like, you know, the Brothers Grimm and
Hmm.
Hansel and Gretel. They're almost baked in the oven. I mean, they're checked for their plumpness by the witch. And like that's pretty scary stuff. But that one still checks the box for me. I can still live with that one.
Are you on social media, and where can folks follow you online to hear more about Northwoods Lullaby or your future projects?
Yes, I try to stay off of social media as much as I can.
That's
I'm already living
healthy.
on 60 acres up in northern Minnesota. It's like I've run as far away from civilization as I can. So it kind of makes sense that I'm not a real big social media person, but I do have a Facebook page, and I will try to post some of the things that I have coming out. And I will be doing a lot of bookstore visits and have different events in the all across the state, actually, including the Twin Cities. People can look at my Facebook page under Mary Casanova, author. You'll find me.
Yeah, and I'll
And
link to
then
that in the show notes.
my website, of course, has more about Northwoods Lullaby as well. I think that I haven't double checked it, but I think you can go to my website and find a link to the music for Northwoods Lullaby as well, which I hope a lot of parents and grandparents might consider playing the music sometime as they simply turn the pages and really get absorbed in the illustrations as the music also tells the story. So there's a couple of ways of experiencing this book.
Back when my oldest child was a baby, books came with CDs
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
But it's so much easier if you have your phone. You can just click a button
Well,
and
who
play
has a CD player these days too, right? So,
it.
so we all take out the phone instead. But yes, you can access it via the phone as well. So that is an option.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me, Mary, about Northwoods Lullaby and your other work and your recommendations. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you, Deborah. I'm honored to be on your program. We have so many Minnesota authors, so I just think this is a wonderful service you're doing. You won't run out of people to interview for a long, long time.
No, it's like infinite, and people keep coming out with great books.
I
Yeah.
think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for a recommendation from me. If you are going to be visiting Minnesota's Northwoods this summer, and I honestly have no idea how much overlap there is between people who like to read Minnesota books and people who like to camp in Minnesota, but I am in the center of that Venn diagram. The Minnesota State Park system lets you book campsites or camper cabins up to 120 days before your arrival date. So it's the end of April right now, which means almost the whole summer is open for camping reservations. A couple of my favorites are Judge C.R. Magny State Park, way up on the North Shore, and I also like Lake Vermilion Sudan Underground Mine State Park. And Itasca is a classic. Send me a message if you want my real insider tips to those state parks. And that concludes this episode of Read Minnesota Books. Are you holding your phone right now? Then take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your app. Your positive feedback helps readers and writers find the show. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.